Hey everybody, it's Tim Derling. Welcome back to Tim's Vinyl Confessions, where I go through my vinyl collection by one of my favorite classic rock artists or bands and discuss the artwork and anything interesting that comes along the way. A lot of my segments you may notice I'm wearing this shirt here. If you don't know what this is Y&T, one of my favorite bands. Unfortunately, not a band that achieved what many feel they should have achieved as far as popularity, but those that like them tend to like them quite a lot. And it's actually the band I'm going to talk about in this segment, my Y&T vinyl on Tim's Vinyl Confessions. So let's get started. Y&T stands for Yesterday and Today, which is named after a Beatles album, and that is the name that they went with on their first two albums. This is the first album. You see the Yesterday and Today logo up here. First two albums are very, very hard to find. There's some markings down here. This is because my cat got at some of my vinyl, unfortunately. Picture of the band, kind of a swirly, hazy, no pun intended, picture of the group. But back cover, shots of each of the group, interspersed with band members' names, a little production info, some thank yous, and the song titles. This is on London Records. Their first two albums were on London Records. And well, this is different. I don't know if this is a London Records issue. Certainly I didn't buy this when it was new. This came out in 1976, so I would have been 2. It's got music notes all over it. London Records is a very, very, very old label. Mostly did classical music, and their logo looks like it. So there's a stamp on this. This album belonged to someone named Dale C. Sumner. Dale C. Sumner, who lived in Labrador City. Well, Dale, thanks for pawning this off, because otherwise I still wouldn't have a copy of this. The vinyl is in excellent shape. Kind of a dark red logo with a silver London logo. I don't know how well this comes out on video, but there it is. It's the first Yesterday and Today, or the first Y&T album. Second album, also on London Records, Struck Down. This is a picture of the group sitting on theater seats. It appears to be an empty theater. So there's the logo in silver this time, and Struck Down in yellow. And Dave Meniketti wearing an interesting red suit with a scarf. Joey Alves wearing a top hat. I don't know if you can tell there or not. So don't let anyone tell you that Slash was the first. Back cover. 4 individual shots of the band, song titles, and a little bit of information about the album. Again, this is London Records, and quite hard to locate a copy of. Let's see what was in this thing. This is interesting. You know, this is a sleeve that came with it. The London Records Group, which actually, I believe this is one of the final popular music albums they released before they just decided to concentrate on classical music. Same thing happened to ZZ Top and April Wine. London, stereophonic. Again, it doesn't look like a rock record. It looks like a classical record, which had, probably a lot to do with why they didn't fit on the label and why the label did whatever they did. This vinyl is heavily scratched. So Y&T switched labels, and they also decided to shorten their name, famously. And that's when things started to happen for them. 3 years between their second and third album, which for that time, that's a long time to be out of the scene, but it was worth it. Maybe one of my all-time favorite albums, Earthshaker. This was the first album. In some ways, this is the first album. It's the first album where they were called Y&T. It's the first album where they were truly committed to hard rock, although we're not really getting into the music. It's technically their third album, so we'll stick with that. Love this artwork, and it's just so crazy. Has some seriously yellow eyeliner on this girl here, and long hair, lightning. Of course, Y&T, it should be said, if you don't know, they're from the San Francisco Bay Area, so earthquakes are nothing new. Earthshaker written here, the letters start to kind of go off center here a little bit, and this logo, I like this logo. This is the only time it appeared. They developed this logo from the next album onward, for the most part. Let's picture the band. In the 2006 reissue of the Earthshaker album, the late great Phil Kennemore, bass player, this guy right here, waxes nostalgic and quite amusingly about his malt shop shirt that he showed up to the photo session for this too. If you crank this like this, here are the song titles and credits. This album was the third Y&T album, and it was the first one on A&M Records. This version that I have in my hand right here is actually from Holland. So I've seen the North American version. It doesn't look any different. And the inner sleeve of this contains other A&M albums that are available. Just the one Y&T album at this point. Interesting to note, I mean, A&M was not a hard rock label. You have Quincy Jones, LTD, Chuck Mangione, the Brothers Johnson. Curiously, the very first two up here, the first two albums by a young Canadian singer-songwriter named Bryan Adams. But we're talking about Y&T, and also there's some other albums here that were available, actual pictures of them. So chances are this sleeve came out with all of the albums that came out around the same time as Earthshaker. This was what the A&M Records logo looked like on most of the labels, although this is a little bit different because it is it's a European version of it. Vinyl in really, really good shape. Next up, one of their most iconic albums, 1982, Black Tiger. Call me a sucker for cool artwork, but this is some cool artwork. Done by a gentleman named John Taylor Dismukes. Sorry, John, if I pronounced your name wrong. He's done a lot of hard rock and heavy metal album covers, and this is the first one he did for Y&T. As you can see, their logo now in place. It says Black Tiger here. That's what you get, Black Tiger, sharp claws, sharp teeth. Here's the back cover. Some cool effects on the pictures of the band, song titles, credits, and let's see what's inside here. Just a plain white sleeve in this copy anyway. I don't know if there are any variations on this where there happen to be lyrics or anything, but I tend to doubt it. Same A&M logo, but since this is an American copy, the song titles are written bigger. It's a lot easier to read. This is different. The way 1 and 2 are written next to the A&M logo. First Y&T album I heard all the way through, the first one I actually bought, even though it was years later, was this one. This is Mean Streak. Came out in 1983. Again, very cool cover art. This one and Black Tiger are, you ask most fans, they usually say those are my favorites. But again, by John Taylor Dismukes. This time Mean Streak is spelled out as this sort of robotic snake's venom, I guess. I love the color choices on here. Logo looks really cool in gold. Back cover here. Shots of the band on stage. Song titles and the credits. This is a Canadian edition of Mean Streak. Some A&M record releases did this. It's information about how to protect your records. Cleaning, playing, storage, and this, you see this a lot, named Give the Gift of Music. So this appeared on some of A&M releases. I've seen Nazareth albums with this logo as well. So here we go, the same A&M logo that we've seen up until now. As I said before, Y&T, not exactly a huge commercial success. The closest they came to cracking the mainstream album-wise was with this album that came out in 1984. This album is called In Rock We Trust. Now, This is where we get into the 80s hard rock metal bands having a mascot. Iron Maiden famously had Eddie. Y&T thought they'd throw their hat into the ring with this robot who they named Rock. Some say it was a mistake. It's hard to tell. I do know that this was the most successful Y&T album. Nearly went gold. And this album it's got some cool, I like the grainy kind of green granite feel to the back cover, to the surrounding cover here. This is another John Taylor Dismuke artwork, I believe. Yes, it is. Yes. To the back cover. You know, I think I would have preferred it if they'd have just had this sort of surface with the logo and the title on it, but they didn't. Shots of the band on stage, song titles, and credits. And what they did with the credits and the lyrics on this album is unique because every single word is capitalized for some reason. This is a Canadian edition as well. The only difference is that you have the A&M logo and the A&M address, the year of release, and then underneath of it is the A&M Records of Canada information. So here it is, the lyrics. Again, every word is capitalized. I've never seen that any other time. Same logo. I think a little bit different color to the actual A&M. (1985) Open Fire, sometimes called Open Fire Live because it says Open Fire and Live down here, but I tend to go by what's written on the sleeve, and although it's too small to read, it says Open Fire. This album actually has two covers, and I believe it was in the UK that there was a version of this that had flames. I have a CD with the flames cover on it, but I don't have the vinyl with that version of it. But this is a bunch of fans or hands reaching up with lighters, and each lighter has the Y&T logo on it. Back cover. Shots of the band on stage. Now, at the same time that this album came out, A&M released a home video of Y&T called Live at the San Francisco Civic, and couldn't even be bothered to use new artwork. They used these same pictures, but that's another story. There's a write-up about the band here by a guy named Bob Garcia. Song titles. This is actually one of two appearances on a Y&T album of the song that they're best known for, the song Summertime Girls, but it's not live on here, it's the studio version. This is another Canadian edition. There's an inner sleeve here. Some cool shots of the band on and off stage. Write up about the band here, or credits about the band. Back cover, more pictures. Now, the A&M logo had changed slightly at this point. It has these, if you look at them, they're supposed to represent wheels or spinning discs of some sort. And by that time, in 1985, they had changed that logo. That's what was on Open Fire. The last studio album that Y&T did for A&M, Down for the Count. And the first thing you'll notice, other than this hideous, ugly pink color, is that they didn't use the logo. Until you really look at it, it's hard to tell what this says. So I'm wondering how many potential record buyers were turned away at the record store because they didn't know what they were looking at. They may have wanted to find the record with that cool song Summertime Girls on it, but they didn't see it because, well, it's Y&T. This isn't Y&T. Anyway, this graphic on here, the title, obviously, it's a popular expression, Down for the Count, like a boxing expression, but here it takes on another meaning because you have a vampire, a count, and a female robot. This is kind of a similar idea to what the band Autograph did the same year in 1985 with their album That's the Stuff, and strangely, many years later, Aerosmith did a very similar piece of artwork with the female robot for their album Just Push Play. There's a city in the background. This is like on a balcony. You know, this is fine. I just wish that they'd done away with the pink, that's just my opinion, and used their actual logo, even if they used it like it is here. Picture the band I mean, this could only be the mid-'80s. I'm sure the guys in the band aren't crazy about the get-ups they have on here, but hey, song titles and credits. This is a Canadian edition as well. A lot of my records are. Here's another sleeve with the advice for how to store your records and how to clean them. This has the same A&M logo that Open Fire does. These came out within months of each other. That was the final Y&T studio album on A&M Records, and then they switched to Geffen. And unfortunately, they did 2 albums for Geffen. I only have one of them on vinyl, but it's a very cool edition of it. This is Contagious. Logo's back. Okay, this looks like a hard rock album. This album art was actually done by, if you're a fan of Rush, if you're a fan of Queensryche, Megadeth, Whitesnake, you know the name Hugh Syme, especially Rush. He's designed most of their artwork. And Hugh Syme designed this album cover. What you have here is a beaker of some supposedly destructive fluid exploding, and it went everywhere. So I like this little sort of slice they did along here. Up here, there's a gold stamp. Lent for promotional use only. Any sale of unauthorized transfers prohibited and void. Subject to return upon demand by owner. Acceptance of this record constitutes agreement of the above. So this is a loaner. This was a radio station or record company promo version of Contagious. And we'll find out more about that on the inside of it. Picture of the band, black and white photo. Song titles here. As you can see, the Geffen Records logo now. A lot of stuff in this, as I would come to realize. Here is 4 other photos of the band, black and white photos. All the credits and all the lyrics. Geffen Records logo. This is typical of the time, the way that this would look. Song titles written on it, of course. But because this is a promotional copy, this, much to my delight when I picked it up, contains a Geffen Records press kit. This is the only one of these types of things that I have in my record collection. A little folder, and it has a press photo of the band, official press photo of the band, and a write-up. It's like a cover letter signed by the band members, and this would have been sent out to radio stations telling you about Y&T, and there is a track by track of each song here, commented on by Dave Meniketti and also Jimmy DeGrasso. There's a little bit of a history of the band here. This is something that probably most record companies did, but this is the only one I've been able to get my hands onto. Y&T, if you love classic hard rock like Van Halen or old Aerosmith, just classic 70s, 80s hard rock, do yourself a favor and check them out. Their website is yandtrocks.com, and that's my Y&T vinyl collection. Tim's Vinyl Confessions will be back with another artist. Thanks for watching.